All right, so as I take you through this video, this update video, I just want to be very clear. Nothing I say in here is trading advice. If it sounds like trading advice, it's just me talking to myself. Please don't take anything like that as trading advice. Trading is very risky. It's all speculation. Past performance doesn't mean anything going forward with future results. But, you know, unfortunately, only I have to go off of is past performance. So that's what I use. But yeah, anyway, all that legal stuff, don't copy me. Do your own thing. Trade you, not them. And yeah, nothing in here is investment or trading advice whatsoever. Just showing you what I'm doing, telling you my story. All right, everybody. Sorry I've been gone for a while. My schedule has changed quite a bit, actually. One of my clients is now needing most of their service in the evening with some projects they're working on. So I can no longer trade in the evening. But at the same time, that frees up my mornings to trade the normal session. Well, I don't have a current strategy for the normal session, so I had to put one together. It took me about 40 hours, actually, to put together the strategy that would fit me and everything that I needed it to be able to do. The hours in which I'm trading in the morning, the risk-reward ratio, the amount of reward I'll get at the end of the month, all these different variables had to be taken into account when you're building a strategy and your new trade plan. So it took about 40 hours to complete it. It's finally done. Did a little bit of testing. And I think we're good to go. So tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, I will know for sure when I start really trading it this week. We'll see what happens. I really hope it's a good one because I only have 4 days left to pass this evaluation. So you can see right now it's been a roller coaster. This evaluation's been just crazy roller coaster. But currently my account is sitting at an all-time high at $151,340. So that part's great. But I need to make $159,000 to pass this, and I only have 4 days left to do it. So let's go over to Topstep X. All right, so now I'm switched over to the ES. You can see my account down here, account balance, all that good stuff. Let's go over to the stats. I'm going to talk to you about strategy here in a second, like something to think about. All right, so my stats are there, 1,340, which is good because that's an all-time high. Or maybe $7 off an all-time high, something like that, but basically all-time high as far as I'm concerned. So I still have my $4,500 that I can lose, which is great to be in that spot instead of being at the lose 500 and the account is gone. So scroll down here, really ugly checkerboard. Do not like to see a checkerboard on my calendar, but it is what it is. So a little testing here on this day, on Monday. So far, like I said, looks like it's going to be good. So tomorrow we're going to do a full trade. I know it was a red day, but it didn't matter. I was just pushing buttons. But tomorrow will be a full swing, and I will see how it goes. But I only have these 4 days left before my rebuild takes place, which, you know, if it gets rebuilt, I'll bank a reset, which is nice. But what happens if I pass this and it turn it into a funded account? Then what happens with that banked reset? Do I save it for something else later on? Does it go away? I don't know. I don't even want to find out. I want to pass this week. So with this strategy, I should be able to do it. I should be able to pass it by Thursday, probably. Friday, if one of these days is a red day, then Friday. But, you know, I don't know. We'll find out together what happens there. Let's go back to the charts. All right, so I'm going to mark this up real quick, and I'm going to show you something to think about with your strategies. So let's say I would decide to go with this, a short position right here. So, and my target was down here. So right now you can see clearly that I would be risking 1 to make 2. So risking $100 to make $200. But that's not actually how it works out. So something you have to think about, one, is commissions, right? It's only a few dollars, but it's still commissions. The second thing is the spread right here. So 44625, 4465. So right now it's about a quarter spread. Right now it's 50-cent spread. You can see there it was opened up to about 50-cent spread. So if I get into this trade and it costs me 50 cents to get in and 50 cents to get out, that's $1 on the trade that it's costing me. So if my target, if my stop is, because I do everything based on my risk, right? My profit is, it is what it is. My risk is what really matters because that's what's going to blow up my account or keep my account alive. So 7450.25 minus 7448 1.5. That gives me $1.75 on the trade. So if this trade is profitable, let me see if I can write on this chart here real quick. All right, so when I get into this trade, what I'm actually going to be risking is not $1.75, which is that red box there. I have to account for the spread. So if I get lucky and my spread is 25 cents in and 25 cents out, if I add that spread, because that's a cost for the trade plus commissions, which I didn't even put in here, it's really costing me $2.25. So if I move this to cost me $2.25, add another 50 cents to it basically here. So really it looks like my trade is actually risking 1 to make 1.5 is what it looks like. Would have been a nice trade, right? Look at that. Target. Boom. Money, money, money. Why didn't I trade that? All right. So that's what it looks like. But I'm not actually going to be making that much. I have 50 cents to deal with on the exit as well, right? So it'll be my profit minus 50 cents because it cost me 25 to get in and 25 to get out. So we take this minus 50 cents, which would be 45.50. So now you can see my real risk reward is risking 1 to make 1.3. So when you're looking at your back testing and all that stuff and you're like, oh, look at my numbers, I'm going to risk 1 to make 2, which means I'll make this much money, which means if I have a 50% win rate, I'm still making a bunch of money and I'm happy and everything is good. And then at the end of the week, you're like, how come I'm not making any money? This isn't working for me. And then you start casino trading and you blow up your account. It's because maybe you didn't take into account the spread plus commissions. Now, the next piece to take into account is order entry, right? By the time you push the button to get in, are you getting the number you think you're going to get? In a sim-funded account, it's a little bit easier. But once you're in a live market, you might not even get the fill you think you're going to get. You might get worse of a fill. And next thing you know, this risk 1 to make 1.3, which I thought was going to be risk 1 to make was risk 1 to make 2, ends up being risk 1.2 to make 1, right? It ends up being lopsided. By the time my order executions get filled, I pay for the spread and I pay for commissions. This is where I'm at. And that changes with how you enter your trades. Are you entering with a market order, a limit order, a stop order? How are you entering your trades? So just something to think about when you're looking at your strategies. So when I was building my new strategies for the daytime trading, I was finding a lot of them like risking 1 to make 2. And I'm like, man, this is great. I should trade this. Well, maybe I tweak it like this. Maybe I can get more, blah, blah. But then when I went and actually dialed into numbers, this was happening and it wasn't good enough. So it took all week long to come up with something that was solid for me that I'm going to move forward with. So now I need to go over to Topstep X and... All right, so here we are in the risk settings tool with Topstep X. So I am going to be risking... So first I'm starting on my personal daily loss limit for this week based on my probabilities. $3,200 is my personal daily loss limit. Yep, that's a big risk for the account, but I'm going to try to get it done in 4 days. And probabilities say that I should be able to do that with this risk with no problem. When this is my funded account, it will not be starting like that. Personal daily profit target. So 3,200, do nothing. Yes, you're going to liquidate and block. And then it's going to trail with me realized gains, save. So personal daily loss limit is on. Personal daily profit target, 45.10. Give me a little bit of room there. Because my consistency target in the evaluation is 50%. Once I'm funded, there is no consistency rule with Topstep. Max trades in a day. Max trades in a day is going to be 10. So let's click on that. And that's based on like the last 30 days, what I would need to be able to have in my hopper in order to be able to trade out my day. So I'm putting 10 in there. It's actually 9, but we're going to give myself one extra one. And that kind of helps protect me from over trading. You know, like basically I'm finishing out my day and then the market starts to move, news is coming out, whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, I want to get back in and make more money. That's a disaster because then I'm not trading on a proven statistical probability. I do not want to be trading based on my feelings because that is a casino trade. I want to trade on a proven statistical probability of success. And unfortunately, I like to casino trade. So another thing with the max trade limit is it prevents me from trading outside of my trading window because I know I need to have 10 trades in the hopper to be able to be successful during my trading window. So if something tempts me in the evening or outside of my trading window, whenever that might be, I'm not going to be able to go in and start trading, right? News comes out, I want to come in and casino trade. I won't be able to do it because then I don't have the trades to trade during my high probability window. So it kind of keeps me on track, because there have been days where I hear news and I'm like, oh, let me get on the market and try to trade that news, and then I end up losing all my money. So locking that in, so that will help protect me from that. The goal of the risk tools over here is to protect me from myself. Yes, I should have more discipline. Yes, I should have more self-control. Yes, I should have all those things. But I'd rather be honest with myself and say, I'm not disciplined. I don't have self-control. I'm going to do these dumb things. So how do I protect myself from those things? And that's using these risk tools right here. Personal lockout, I don't need that. Trade clock, don't need it. Brackets are on. So my brackets, I'll be looking for a $1,000 risk. I'm going to try not to risk more than that with a $2,000 profit. Risking 1 to make 2, which is what my strategy is. Save. So now I'm going to double check all these risk tools. Now here's something to think about. If I were to go to turn any one of these things off, like if I turned off my daily loss limit and I hit my trade count, I'm still going to get locked out for the day. So any one of these will lock me out for the day. Profit target, I only have as liquidate just in case something weird happens. I have an option to manage it. All right, so once I have everything done, then up here, account settings, lock. Now I have an option to lock it out for the day, the trading day, or for the whole week. I do not want to do the day. The reason why is because sometimes I show up to the market late and then I skip going through my risk settings and locking them out and all that. I get right in, then I get emotional, and then it's not a good end of day. So I'm going to lock it out for the week, and then I don't have to worry about it for the whole week. And I'm not changing my risk settings on a daily basis. I might trade them on a week or every 2 weeks, or depending on my account at the end of the week. So end of week. Yes, lock me out. You're going to lock all these things out. Contract limits, symbols, trade limits, personal daily profit target, and loss limit. Yes, lock it out for the week. All right, there we go. So now I could still come in here and change brackets. That I can still do. Everything else, I will not be able to. Click, 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 click. Can't do anything. Click, click. Trade, click, click, right? So now I'm good. I'm locked out. It tells you up here 3 days, 22 hours. So now I'm protected from myself when I start trading tomorrow morning. Let's go talk strategy real quick and show you what I'm doing. All right, so I use Thinkorswim to chart my stuff. I'm going to show you with my indicator, but I'm going to show you also with some other options here. So right now we're looking at my indicator on the screen, and then I do a markup of my charts like this, and I take a picture of it so that I have it to put into my trade log so I can remember what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I might change strategies, right? I was trading at nighttime, now I'm going to the daytime. And now let's say 2 weeks from now something changes and I'm back to nighttime trading, or by then I'll probably remember, but like 3 or 4 months from now I go back to nighttime trading. I can pull up these old strategies and then double check them to see if they're still working. So I like to take snapshots like this and go through it. I'm going to delete this real quick and then explain the strategy to you as it would happen. All right, so the first thing I do is I grab these quadrant lines in Thinkorswim down here, the bottom quadrant lines. So when I left click, drag, and left click, I'm left with these even lines right here. And if I right click on it, I can edit the properties of them, so I can change it to be different colors, different whatever, however I want it to be. Remove drawing. So once I get a switch, my first switch of the day in the 1 minute chart with ES, my first switch of the day, as it confirms the candle closes, I'm entering the trade in the direction of the switch. So right now this is telling me a short trade. So I'm entering short. Let me rewind this real quick. And then I left click at the top of the ball, drag it down so the middle line is where I got in. And then I have these equal quadrants. So I can see that basically, keeping in mind the demonstration I just showed you, if this was the target, which on this first one it is not, so we're going to edit that real quick. That is going to be gray. Yeah, we'll just leave that gray. This will be the target. All right, so keeping in mind what I just showed you, if I were to have my stop up here, then that would be risking 1, or risking, let me hold on 1 second. Activate. Let me pull this over. All right, there we go. So keeping in mind with the drawing I just showed you on Topstep X, if this was my stop, I'd be risking 1. This is my target, I'd be risking 1 or making 1 because my entry is right in the middle. If this was my stop, then I'd be risking 1 right here to make 2. But then you've got a minus, like all the stuff I just showed you. So anyway, once I get into the trade, then I draw these other little quadrant lines. So my stop is going to be a break of this quadrant line right there. And then my target is this quadrant line here. And once I get about 90% of the way right through here, I'm moving my stop to break even plus a couple bucks. So that's basically my first trade of the day. As long as that happens before 10 o'clock, the first switch, I'm going with the direction. Then my second switch of the day, and the rest of them, however many I need to trade, I'm going the opposite way. I'm going the opposite on it. And then again, I draw my second set of quadrant lines for my stop to be right there. I can change the color of that, make it red. My stop is there. My target's there, and I'm entering on the close of that 1 minute candle. This all happens a little bit fast, but not too bad. 5 minute candles are a lot nicer. Things move a lot slower, but this still works. And then I got to go and factor in all these little numbers and stuff like that. So in reality, though, my exit, I want to get when it's below here. Once it breaks through this line is where I start looking at an exit. Trailing, a lot of times I like to trail, as you've seen in all my videos. It breaks through my target, I trail. So here I would probably just got out at target. There's other times where I get lucky and I get to get more. And basically at the end of the month, all those extra bonus monies add up to give me a solid risk 1 to make 2. In theory, we're going to start trading it tomorrow and see what actually happens when I'm getting in and out of trades. But if it's not quite that much, it's fine too. If I get risk 1 to make 1.5, the strategy is still great and it still works fine. Now, if I find the reality is I'm getting less than risk 1 to 1.5, then I'm going to dump this and go back to the drawing board because the numbers aren't going to work out in my favor at the end of the month, unfortunately. It's like, let me look and see. So based on my testing, it's a 60% win rate, risking 1 to make what I think is going to be 2, which is awesome. I'll take that all day long. Risking 1 to make 1, no good. But risking 1 to make 2, I'll take it. All right, so let me show you basically how this could work with something else. All right, so here's VWAP. I know a lot of you like to look at VWAP, so I have VWAP up here on my screen. So for me to have a strategy that works for my brain, I need something to trade against. So I could say, and I'm going to show you one other way after this. I could say every time VWAP gets hit, I'm going to enter for a bounce. But then where is my stop going to be on that? Is it down here in the bottom? Is that my stop on the bottom there? So with my quadrant lines, let me remove it again. I would draw that quadrant line and I would bring it up to there. And now I know that if my stop is down here, let's change the way this color is to red. I right clicked on it and went to change green. Make that green. So I got in right there. And then my stop is down here. I'm risking 1 in that move. And to make 1 is right here. And then what I can do is I can go every single day that VWAP is hit, draw these lines up as if I was entering, whatever direction I felt like it was appropriate. Like in this case, going long, bouncing off of it. It was coming up, bouncing off of it for the short side. Drawing my quadrant lines, and I can say, what's the probability at the end of 90 days that every time this hits VWAP, I'm going to bounce to this target here? Does that happen 70% of the time? Risking 1 to make 1? Great. If that's the case, maybe I want to trade that. Or I could say, you know what? Most of the time it goes up here, and say 60% of the time it'll bounce and hit this target, and it never hits this quadrant line. So maybe my stop should be right there. Now I'm risking 1 to make 2 minus spread, commissions, blah, blah, blah. What does it actually come out to? Maybe it's risking 1 to make 1.5, something like that. So it's kind of how I like to use these quadrant lines, and it can do it with almost any kind of indicator that's out there. Now the results will vary for sure, but this is just kind of how I do it. I need something to trade against. So in this case, it would be VWAP. Let me show you something else. Okay, same chart, haven't changed anything other than the indicator. And now we're looking at the 9-day moving average. Already looks very different. Doesn't this chart look so different already? I don't know, it does to me. So depending on the indicator that's on there, I think the charts can look different and make me see different things. So same thing. I can look and see every time this moving average gets across, a confirmed close below, I could say I'm going to draw my quadrant lines from the top of that candle to the bottom. All right, we're closed below. I mean, I could pick any one of these on across and say what happens. If I do this for 90 days, what happens? Or maybe it's not that. Maybe it's, we're hitting below on all these. We're closed below on all these. This one barely didn't really get there. But once we started closing all these below, once we start closing back above, I want to get in, and I'll put my stop at the bottom of that candle. So, my stop's basically low of day, has to break low of day. And then my entry at the top of that candle that closed above the 9-day exponential moving average. And then my target. Well, how often will it hit that target? Or does it get choppy and it never hits that target? What is the probabilities over time? So having something to trade against, and then having something clear to mark your chart up with so you can clearly see what's going on, and then you can kind of go back test and measure against those numbers, and then factor in what I just showed you with the Topstep, chart, so you can see what your real risk reward is, and then see if those numbers work out for you at the end of the month, right? If I'm trading that every day with 60% success rate, do the math, put it all down in paper. I use a tool that's linked in the description below to build my strategies. So it's got trade calculators, it's got backtest blocks, it's got all the different stuff in there that I use. Again, link in the description below. But that's kind of the gist of how I come up with my strategies. So it took me about 40 hours to look at my trade plan, revamp the trade plan, then look at the strategy. The trade plan is the roadmap. The strategy is the vehicle and how I'm going to travel that map. So to put all that stuff together, like I said, took a while. But anyway, this is basically what I plan to start trading this week. Hopefully I can do it live, starting in the mornings around 9:30 to about 10:30, 11. And you'll see my Thinkorswim chart as well as my Topstep X platform, and entering the trades, exiting the trades, and all that good stuff. So we'll find out if the strategy is going to work. Not 100% positive it's going to work. We'll see. I've built strategies in the past where I started trading them and they just didn't work ever again. That can't happen. We're going to find out starting tomorrow. All right, everybody. See you in the morning.